Welcome to the Better Together podcast, where we look for ways that we can come together and more effectively serve the Lord in the ministry. Today we have with us Mr. Todd Taylor. He is the manager of the U.S. Disaster Relief for Samaritans Purse. He has been to over 100 different disasters and was recently here with us in Nashville, Tennessee, helping out with the tornadoes. So, Todd, it's so good to have you here with us today, my friend.
Thank you for allowing me to come on your show with you, just to talk to the folks that participate with Better Together, and just thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Moody.
Well, we're glad to have you, my friend, and we've seen you in action over the last several weeks in the Donaldson area, and we thank you for that. And then I believe you know I'm originally from North Carolina, and so we had a hurricane or two over there, and we thank you for the good work you all have done helping folks there. But a lot of folks in our Free Will Baptist churches are watching or listening and thinking, you know, I hear about a tornado or I hear about an earthquake or hurricane. I'd like to help out. What are some ways they can partner with Samaritans Purse to help people in such great need?
Well, first off, Dr. Moody, we just want to thank you for the incredible support that the Free Will Baptist churches have given us over the years. As a denomination, you may not have had the ability to send out local church teams, but we see a lot of participation. When we were in Donaldsonville, we also saw that you had several denominational relief teams that were out helping. And my first thought, I grew up as a denominational Baptist, and we have our own way of responding. I want to encourage the folks that are listening to continue that great work that you're doing denominationally. First off, it's a great way for those local churches to be out helping in their community. But we know that sometimes those opportunities are not there because it may rely on just one or two key people from the folks with the equipment. And people are ready to go. They want to go and serve and be the hands and feet of Christ. So that's where organizations like Samaritans Purse can be invaluable to those churches that want to continue to send when there may not be that denominational avenue for them to send out. So Samaritans Purse, we've opened up our camps to volunteers going back to before Katrina, where we have housing with cots or air mattresses, showers, meals, everything's provided for our in-house volunteers. Of course, right now with COVID-19, that's a challenge, and we've had to stand down our volunteer operations for in-house. That's the volunteers that need a place to stay. We've had to stand that down completely during this time. We've done 11 responses since the age of COVID-19, and so far, to our knowledge, we have not had anyone infected. That includes the large turnout that we had there in Donaldsonville, where we fielded over 5,000 volunteers in the course of those 3 weeks. So just incredible amount of people, but they understand safety, and we're taking our time to diligently work through that to make sure they understand. In Chattanooga, that response was almost 6 weeks long with the Chattanooga, Tennessee tornado. But, as we talk about how to be involved, Samaritans Purse has an incredible website registration, and that's where it starts at. It's spvolunteer.org. You can log on there, set up a profile, and when there's a corresponding mobile app on both platforms, on both the Android platform and the iPhone platform, where people can just click, and register as a volunteer. We have a team of volunteer coordinators that make sure that we have enough bedding space, we have the feeding space, and to give those volunteers that are ready to come in from across the nation that background information that they need to be able to come in and productively minister in Christ's name from the time they get there. So that's where it starts at. For events like Donaldson, we just open up the church and say, if you want to volunteer, come on out. But we do require that pre-registration when overnight accommodations are expected.
Excellent. So that's really a good model for folks to think about what happened at Donaldson. So you alluded to the Master's men who is a Free Will Baptist organization, and folks could go and like their website. They're part of North American Ministries, and also they have a group that organizes in situations like that people could be involved with. And we ended up having some of those groups coming from South Carolina and Illinois and different places, and they often respond in the immediate aftermath of a situation. And so they did that work. And you also mentioned how people just came out. It's like the tornadoes were on a Monday night, and then Tuesday people were kind of getting situated. Then when you get to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, that's what you're talking about, where people would pre-register, and Samaritans Purse was able to get there and really help bring a lot of good organization. But one of the things that you're able to do with Samaritans Purse is it's almost like some of your volunteers are like a work crew, aren't they? So
they are. We call it our site leadership team. And those are people that we bring to North Wilkesboro, which is where our home office is, to give them specialized training on how to lead teams in different scenarios and how to maintain the chainsaws and tarp roofs and things like that. So they have some of that more in-depth training. A lot of organizations require training before you go on a disaster. Samaritan's Purse does not. We do all of our training in the field with our general volunteers and only train our team leaders in advance. Yes, sometimes that causes a little bit of a dilemma where we may not know the exact skill set of a sawyer or a carpenter or something like that, but we have that experience there to guide that team through the day. A few years ago, we started renting U-Haul trucks and equipping those with all the tools that would be needed. Last year, we started purchasing our own type U-Haul trucks. We call them DRVs, disaster relief vehicles, and they're equipped with all the tools that you would need to equip about 20 people. In Donaldson, we had 6 of those trucks rolling every day. And so we're able to pre-equip those team leaders with everything they need to field their teams for a normal volunteer response. Donaldsonville was a little bit above average. We saw the same thing in Cookeville as well, and over in Seneca, South Carolina, where so many people just wanted to help. That's a great thing to have happen, to see that local love of their community. Sometimes we're in places in this nation that doesn't happen, and so it is always great to see. But to be able to plug in with that local church and help create that conduit for local people mixed with people from across the nation to be able to serve together.
It's a great thing. And so folks or churches, like, for example, in a hurricane zone, they could, work with Samaritan's Purse, perhaps with pre-positioning some of these trailers so that the response is a little bit quicker coming out. And then it's also you utilize folks that have specific skills. I think it's DART, where like a physician or a nurse practitioner or whatever. I think some of those folks ended up going up to like New York or being able to help out in those ways.
That's right. Samaritan's Purse is a very large organization. I work with North American Ministries, and we U.S. Disaster Relief, to be more specifically, and our team focuses on new disasters here in the U.S. We have another side of our team that works strictly with rebuild, and they're in the process of standing up a rebuild program there in Nashville to help people that don't have the insurance and the financial ability to rebuild their own homes. We still have projects going on with Hurricane Harvey in Texas and Michael down in Panama City, and several projects related to Florence and the Eastern Carolinas. So we need people with the trades to be able to volunteer, and those are trips that people can book out 3 months in advance, where you're able to really think about and plan that rebuild trip. But as you were saying, we have field hospitals, and we had one of those stood up in New York City, right there in Central Park. We had another one in Italy dealing with the coronavirus. We have 2 small medical clinics operating currently. One of those is in the Navajo Nation out in Shiprock, Arizona, and they are helping out with treatment of COVID in the Native American communities there. And we're also working with some officials in Alaska to stand up one to be able to help deal with the expected, keyword expected, spike as a result of salmon season and the roughly 15,000 people that come into King Salmon Bay to harvest the salmon and run the canneries annually. And so we have a field hospital on standby, waiting for the need there. Hopefully it doesn't arise, but if so, we're making preparations. So
that's great. And so a lot of different ways for people to get involved and help out, and we just encourage them to do that. Not just wait until a disaster comes, but to try to prepare for it. But also, like you say, this the rebuild program, you're able to plan a ways out, and it's really like a job, kind of Monday to Friday.
That's right. Those teams with rebuild, they work. They have them come in Sunday afternoon, work all day Friday, and leave out first thing Saturday morning. So those folks do have a semblance of a weekend, and they're able to be involved with their local churches and things like that. So
great work. And so someone's listening in and they've always wanted to do more in a particular disaster. Here's some ways to get involved. And just when you hear about a disaster, pray for these organizations, pray for Samaritans Purse as they go in, and they'll be trying to help people in Jesus' name in those situations. Well, thank you, Mr. Todd, for stopping by and being with us today. And greetings to you there in North Carolina. You probably can't find any good barbecue where you're at today, but
not today, but in 2 weeks.
There you go. There you go. Well, enjoy it, my friend, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate the good work you all are doing.
We just encourage your viewers, listeners, to go to the Samaritans Purse website. I would encourage them, Dr. Moody, to take a look at one of the sites that's part of our main site. Is called SPTV. We have all kinds of video links that document the work that our disaster relief teams and our international teams, our medical teams, have been doing over the last 15 years. You can see stories going back to Katrina when you dig deep enough through there, but there's always some really neat content on there. Follow us on Facebook. All of the different ministries have different social media sites. That's a great way to get updates, but starts with SamaritansPurse.org.
Excellent. Well, thank you for taking the time to join us today, and we'll continue to be praying for you, and we hope we'll see even more people get involved in the ministry.
Well, we look forward to it. Thank you so much, Dr. Moody.